Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to our NOA, National Olympic Academy of Malaysia Olympism Series, our webinar online. Thank you so much. We are back again this time for our second installment. The first one, we remember, we actually talked about mental health. We had 3 people come and talk, the coach, the athlete, and the sports psychologist. So I hope you enjoyed the last one. And today, we actually have a very big treat for you. We actually have a very interesting guest, right? Please also bear with us today, right? It's interesting talk, right? And one of the things that we always realize is that every one of us has an Olympic moment, right? It could be Jesse Owens and Lutz Long. It could be Eliud Kipchoge recently for the marathon, right? Mark Spitz at swimming, Michael Phelps, right? Anyone, Simone Biles, Nadia Comaneci, right? Whichever generation you're from, whether you are from baby boomer, whether you are from the greatest generation, whether you are Gen X, Gen Y, millennials, every one of us has an Olympic moment. And all these Olympic moments have always been there. And one of the most important things is that who captures all these moments? Who immortalizes all these moments, right? John Stephen Aquari, right? Bandage on his legs, right? Hobbling towards the finish line, right? The marathon medal ceremony has already gone off and done more than an hour before that. And he walks into the Mexico City stadium and then he hobbles across the line. He says those immortal words, right? And my country didn't send me 3,000 miles to start a race. They sent me 3,000 miles to finish a race, right? But the pictures of him crossing the line, the pictures of people cheering him on, the people who stayed behind even after the medal ceremonies was ended, those are the images and graphics and everything that we always remember the Olympiad by. And since we've talked so much over the past few weeks about Olympians, we've seen them in action, right? We can say whatever we want about them, but in the end of the day, we want to also focus and highlight people who exist in the background, the people who immortalize these Olympic heroes. And I personally feel that the people in the background are heroes themselves, the volunteers, the photographers, the journalists, the scoring people, the accreditation people, the volunteer, all these people make the games happen. Any multi-sport event, whether it be the Olympics, Commonwealth, Asian, SEA Games, whichever, Olympic Solidarity Games or whichever, Islamic Solidarity Games, all have all these people to thank, right? And tonight we actually have someone very interesting, and I'd like to just do a quick introduction for our guest tonight. All right. So tonight we actually have Annice Lyn. Now let me share with her bio. Annice Lyn is a documentary and sports photographer. She's based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. She is a former national figure skater. All right. So she's an athlete herself. Her transition into documentary sports photography led her to become the first and only Malaysian female photographer whose work was accredited for the Olympic Winter Games in Pyeongchang back in 2018. Basically, it was used to raise Malaysia's ice skating community in terms of visibility and marketing, right? She's also a Canon Malaysia EOS Youth Ambassador, right? And recently, she's just got back from Tokyo, right? The Olympics in Tokyo 2020. And she's currently right now in quarantine because of SOP procedures. A couple of things. She's a prominent alumni of UCSI University. So for those who are from UCSI University, be proud. In 2018, she's also, as I mentioned, Canon Malaysia EOS Youth Ambassador. In 2020, she was awarded Woman of the Future Award, Southeast Asia. She was also honored in Prestige Magazine's Malaysia 40 Under, right? And also in 2021, Forbes 30 Under 30 for Asia, right? She's done a lot over the years, right? She's also done a lot of exhibitions, and you'll be surprised that even at her young age, she's done so much. So as you can see from the pictures here, she's done quite a lot of things. So I like to bring ahead tonight. So please, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together wherever you are right now, and Miss Annice Lyn. Hi, Annice.
Everyone. Hi, Nick. Hi, Nicholas.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
It's okay. Just call me Nick. It's okay. Don't so formal. Right. So it's fine. Right. See, this is Nick Chan here. So it doesn't say Nicholas. Right. So,
Yeah.
okay. Annice, welcome. How's quarantine? I think you are stuck in a hotel somewhere right now.
Yeah, I'm stuck in a hotel somewhere, but I don't think it's stuck. I would say it's a very nice, nice season and nice week to recuperate. That's what a lot of people will be asking, like, are you okay? But for me, I'm actually enjoying. Like, yeah, it gives me a lot of times to focus. I think the first week I already pan out the first week to focus on recuperation, and then this week is actually just to get back and work slowly, replying emails, and I'm actually on a 4 days photography course. Yeah.
Okay. So you're learning. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people will tell, the people say, oh, quarantine is so boring. Can you entertain me, call me, Zoom me, or meet me, or whatever? But I mean, you're doing something very productive. That's a good thing, right? So,
Yeah,
so
I'm taking on
I
a lot.
tiring. Was it very tiring coming back from Tokyo?
Yeah, it is. So the first 3 days, I think I just sleep. I just finally had my 12 hours of sleep. And so every night it's like from 12 hours sleep to 8 hours, then pan out slowly, because I think one thing everybody didn't know, that in media or anything, my average hour in at the Olympics is 3 to 4 hours daily
Wow.
for
And that's
sleep.
also running between the venues, right? I think.
Yeah, running in between venues. It's a marathon. I feel like sports photography, it's sports itself. That's all I can say.
That's great. I mean, thanks for the sharing. So let's start with a little bit, some genesis, some early. So you were former figure skater, former national figure skater. How did you end up becoming the person behind the lens rather than in front of it?
Oh, because I think as a former figure skater, or me myself in general, I'm quite much of like an introvert. So I think as a figure skater athlete, when I was young, I think around high school that time, I will actually during every competition, and I kind of know that the organizers will have photographers on standby to do videos and do photos for our routines and our competition. So every competition, I'll actually save up my pocket money, like save up like maybe that week of pocket money to actually pay to buy the photos of myself. So when I bought the photos, it's like you're very anticipated after your event. The next thing you want to know is to buy these photos for your keepsake. But then that's where I realized that when I received those photos in CDs, that they always miss the shots that we train so hard for. So you have, for me in particular, you will have the shots of like the figure skater take off. Then the next thing you know, the figure skater landed. I was like, what about the key shots? The key moments are when you're jumping and doing your singles, your doubles on the air. So yeah.
Your triple axel, this type of thing. You missed it. I mean, you didn't catch that.
There's no triple XL in Malaysia yet. So yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, I mean, you missed that one. You missed that one big shot and everything. So you thought that you wanted to say, "Hey, look, let me get behind the lens and see how I can do something." Is it?
Yeah, I think after that, over time, when I advanced to I further my study at UCSI for architecture, that's where I think my former coach actually asked me, and even the head coach in Sunway Pyramid, the used to be the only original ring before the mines and the rest.
Yeah.
So the head coach was Harry Janto. He was like, "Oh, Annice, would you be interested in actually coming to actually impact the youth? You know, train up the young athletes from Malaysia." So I was like, oh, okay. But then I given a bit of a thought. It's like, that means that I have to compete with my former competitors as well, right? Where all the parents will be competing. So I realized
Yeah.
that, yeah, I realized that for me, I don't have a patient in coaching. I'm so sorry. So after that, I realized that, actually, maybe I can. The time I already picked up photography, like in the entry level in my uni days. So I was like, oh, why not? Let's just try. Like, the sport. Let's just see whatever camera you have and try to shoot spots, and not just shoot the action itself, but from the community itself. Meaning that when I was an athlete, I wish that someone would photograph or shot me like that. So since there's no one to do it, so I would just do it to the community.
Did this was it the photography itself was just I mean an outcome of the figure skating, or you already were interested in photography as a whole?
I think it was along the way. I think it was
Okay.
outcome. Yeah, so around that time, I was either using my camera to shoot my projects or to shoot my family or family birthday or travels. So I think there's never a career there when I first started it.
Mm.
So that's where I also feel like, oh, I'm actually very interested in people's stories. So why not I do it from behind the scenes first? So it gradually goes like, let's say the athlete arrived, the athlete do warm ups, then that's where you get the shot of them warming up. Then they start tying their laces, and slowly only all it's like a journey, like if you see through the photos, and all the way until the ring, and then the action comes.
Most, I mean, if you look at the consensus, not all photographers were former athletes. They are just career journalists, career photographers, everything. What makes you think that being what's your opinion? Did being a national athlete yourself or athlete yourself give you a better perspective of being a photographer?
I realized one thing also, like especially when I was so grateful when the Ice Skating Association of Malaysia, or the I think the MISF, the Ice Skating Federation as well in Malaysia at that time, they take me on to photograph that, to just basically visual document the entire SEA Games. So to actually, because it's the first competition, it's the first ice skating competition at the SEA Games, and I'm sure they pitched very hard for it. So it's more of like using the photos. It's like if you cannot get to people or convince people, why not just show people how it's actually done, the behind the scenes. So I realized at that time that, especially at SEA Games, that people tend to gravitate towards the podium shots, like when you're a winner, or when athletes like yourself out there, you know that there's a medal prospect. Only media will. It's just unfortunately the climate is like that. Media will actually take notice on it, and then the other the other athlete who get like second last or last, like it will automatically make you feel nothing. Like but you already lost. You're not positioned on the podium, but it makes you feel even worse. Like you're not valid at all. So I feel like there's something that needs to be changed.
So, how did you end up becoming involved with the Olympics in terms of as a photographer? How did you end up being in Pyeongchang? Malaysia is a tropical, we're equatorial tropical country. We never expected Julian to have Julian in the Winter Games, right? And when Julian went and everything, and in fact, we've spoken to his mother before many times. But how do you go from just shooting the SEA Games to going to Pyeongchang? I mean, how was the journey to that stage?
I think one thing is very important, that we all have to recognize where we come from, and even though where we come from or where we are rooted, but basically nothing is impossible. So I think when Julian and Irene, his mother, kind of like go through this journey, I think it kind of like shook the whole community, the ice skating community. Because one thing I think that these two mother and son duo, they are incredibly humble and very nice in terms of like they're not doing it just for themselves. On top of that, they feel like if Julian qualified for Pyeongchang, it opens a lot of doors for future figure skater, you see, and also it opens parents' eyes as well. So
Yeah,
that
I like
was,
to I'd like a shout out to Auntie Irene. She's been very supportive.
yeah, she is.
We've spoken to her many times, and she's one of those parents that don't just think about her son, but
Mm.
she also thinks about the greater community, because it's a new fledgling sport. It's a sport that's not even a tropical country sport. It's a winter sport, right? And for her to think about that, to look at that, and to include you as part of that visibility exercise was so important. So, do you think that by you being there to capture these things, was there an impact coming back to Malaysia, like what you mentioned?
There is an impact. Like I think I would say how I started is where you always need a good support system, whether it's coming from your parents, from your teammates, from your coach. So for me at that time, it was Auntie Irene. I would say she would say that you have to be crazy enough to think about the Olympics, and it would be nice if you're there, because it is Pyeongchang. One thing everybody have to know that Pyeongchang, for Pyeongchang 2018, it was Malaysia's first debut. I think that was a fun fact that I myself was quite startled. Like, oh, it's Malaysia's first debut. So wouldn't it be great to have a Malaysian photograph and a Malaysian athlete as well? So I think
Yeah,
that was Auntie Irene's greatest push lash. So when I finished SEA Games, in my mind I thought like, oh, that was the kind of like the pinnacle, like, oh, it's SEA Games, you know. But then after, when as months go by, the following year there's Four Continents Championship at Taiwan. Just so happened, and it's just so happened it's near our country. So I think Auntie Irene kind of like give me a push that if you want to advance yourself, perhaps you want to try going to Taiwan. It's not that expensive. I think in terms of self investment, it's not that expensive. So I think like, oh, okay, I will just have a try. So that's where it's my first time actually watching pairs and ice dance.
mm,
So there's like a whole new territory, a whole new level playing field, I would say. So there, and then for me, that's where, and then I try to like dip my toes in terms of like, I learned from there, like, oh, what are the international journalists, when you shoot alongside them, what kind of lens they use, what kind of cameras they use, the settings. So a lot of things that you can Google as much as you can, but I think it's quite hands-on also to actually learn everything from, I think, from first-hand experience.
you just mentioned just now that your Taiwan that competition was self-funded, and
Mm.
Irene encouraged you to go. up to this point, up to Pyeongchang, has everything all been, I mean, again, has everything been all self-financed? Because it's very important, because we hope that tonight also will also encourage a new generation of sports journalists, photographer to actually come out and say that, hey, there's something that we can do. It's a career. But how much did you have to bootstrap? You want to use the technical term. How much have you had to bootstrap or use self-fund, right? And how was that impact on you in terms of it? Was it very difficult? Maybe you can share that process.
I think it was incredibly difficult also. At one point, you also need to be resourceful as well. So I think the 4 continental, when I first started, it was self-fund, and it doesn't cost that much. I would say that overall, I don't mind sharing, which is overall, I think that trip was 2.4, which I'm really happy about. I stay in a hostel, then try to reach out to the right people to support you as well. So I think leading up to it, like every trip, I was very passionate about, because like in a way, I'm not going there just as a photographer. I'm going there internally as a fan, as a figure skating fan as well. So it's like you can't complain much because you got the front row seat. So so I think apparently ever since then, speaking of bootstrap yourself, right? So every trip I would target like, okay, how can I get this? It's like a problem solving thing. How can I get this funded? How can I get that funded? How can I get clients? So I think you work your way up for that. It's not just a one competition thing or a one night thing. So it's like it's a years of a serious effort to kind of like, in terms of involve like the people the connections you make, the right people you reach out to and talk to. Yeah.
Quick one, all right? When you first started this and then you were just starting out and everything, was it difficult in terms of getting acceptance from people around you, all right? Your parents, your friends, and everything, when you told them that, look, they noticed, I'm sure they're seeing a shift, right, into photography. So how was that support system from back home? I mean, from the home front?
I think one thing we also have to realize that sports photography itself, the business, is not really that flourish here. So one thing you have to realize, and also there's a difference between working hard as well as marketing, like branding yourself. So honestly, for me, for me is I always work really hard. I think I recognize that, okay, in terms of sports, in terms of photography or bread and butter, for me, I would work very hard. Like I knew that wedding and family portraits or even corporate portraits can pump the funds in. So that one is my salary. So I always allocate a savings for like in future if there's anything I want to invest myself in and stuff. So there's this thing for me, I call it tabong self-development,
Oh, that's
which
nice.
which I realize is very important. So what tabong self-development is that you just how much you earn, you save, you just chuck it aside. So it's like you guys save for travels, right? Yeah, I have this tabong self-development. So I actually pay that funds actually goes to books or goes to online workshops nowadays. Like some of the online workshops that is like perhaps like 20, some even $25, $50, $200. And I was like, okay, that's where I can actually tap into my tabong self-development. So I think it's constantly
yeah.
constantly try to fine-tune yourself, and the support system sometimes, I think sometimes as Asian parents and all, even though when people don't believe you, you just if you feel like you're I think trust your own conviction. If you think that you can make it work, and try to make it work.
Yeah, so for those who's joining us, we're actually speaking to Annice Lyn, documentary and sports photographer. By the way, for our non-speaking Malaysians, non-speaking viewers who are not from Malaysia, tabong, the mention she word just now, tabong means piggy bank, right? So it's like it's a small fund, right, that she uses for self-development, right? So how did you end up being invited and getting credentials to Tokyo 2020? I mean, this is known as the COVID Games, right? Volunteers were cut in half. Not many people were able. Overseas volunteers were not allowed to go in already. Only the local volunteers. Most countries, NOCs, National Olympic Committees were the support staff was almost cut in half, even less than half or so, right? So how did you end up in Tokyo 2020?
Nick, it actually took 2.5 year process to actually go through. So how I ended there is, so I would say that I think the last 2 months before going, the last 2 months I thought about quitting as well at one point, because we are talking about this pandemic Olympic is definitely like no other. And I would say it's pretty much like a logistic nightmare in terms of like they have their own version of My Sejahtera there. You have to your own activity plan advancement that you need to submit to actually so that the government of Japan which will know that your whereabouts for the first 14 days. So I think through this time is also about support system like how the OCM Olympic Council Malaysia the support they give or the national body or the national sport association they give that how is it in spite of all you have to go through you still find a sense of importance and relevancy to actually among all the hurdles the obstacles you still maneuver or somehow wiggle your way all the way there.
So tell me your experience. How was it like when you touched down in Tokyo, right, all the way? How was the feeling like being there? Was it as empty as people thought it was? Is it deserted? People are saying that, oh, COVID games, no spectators, it's going to be so different and everything. What was your first impression when you landed in the games village?
Well, so basically media for us we are accredited under media, so we are not allowed to go to the village, but I would say that my hati really tak senang lah all the way until I board the flight because I don't know why I have this like irrational fear that be, perhaps you can prepare everything, and I think the worst was you can prepare everything until leading up to the last 72 hours where you have to take swab tests every 24 hours. So it could be, depend the SOP, it could be 96 hours, 72 hours, 48 hours. For mine is 72, 48, 24. So that last 3 days was the most, I think, mentally challenging task that you have to make sure that your test is negative. Then only you're allowed to go. So I think after everything we gone through, I was stranded in the airport at Narita for 8 hours as well.
How come? Why was it 8 hours? How do you mean by stranded?
Because of my documents. Because like I could not process a certain documents. That happens to some people. Some of the records was 14 hours, 9 hours. So everybody, like if everything is smooth, it's 2.5 hours. Then some 4 hours, some 5 hours. Then you have to take a PCR speed test as well and wait there until your test is out.
So there was a PCR test you had to take on landing at Narita?
Yeah, immediately, yeah.
Okay. So then after that, they brought you to your lodgings, I guess? Or was there a media briefing or something?
No, there's no media briefing. So they after that, they brought you into your lodging. Then you have to have a forced quarantine, a hard forced quarantine for 3 days that you cannot go out of the hotel. And you have a 15 minutes grace period to actually go out to the hotel, to go to 7-Eleven to get your food. Yeah.
So how did they calculate that 15 minutes? You have to run out to the combi outside and quickly run back in again.
There's a gatekeeper there. So basically, you key in your room number, your name, your accreditation number, then start. So for me, what I do is, to be fair, I actually clock my time stopper in front of him. So he saw it, then I go out, then I come back again.
So which means that 15 minutes to run from the hotel lobby, click that thing with the gatekeeper, run to the combini, come back, click again, and go back into your room in 15 minutes.
Yeah. I won't say running. I won't say running because it's just opposite, so it's fine.
I know. Yeah. But how about the food? You need to heat up food. You need to get things ready. I mean, a bento set, it can't be cold. I mean, you might need to warm it up and everything.
They have a microwave at the convenience store, and normally it took 1 minute, so it's fine. So basically, you have 14 minutes to actually try to get everything.
So
one thing.
I think it's very. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
One thing the international media really rave about, it's the 7-Eleven, the Lawson's, and the Family Mart at Japan. They save us all.
I think people don't see this aspect of it. We normally, when we see the games, we see the athletes in action and everything. We don't see that these are the things happening right now. I think, thank you so much. I think you went through so much, 3 days forced quarantine, 50-minute combini run, kind of thing. And maybe what's it like shooting at the games villages? I mean, and at the venue itself. So what was the first event that you covered?
The first event I covered was archery. I actually can show you guys some.
Yeah, sure, go ahead. Yeah, Annice has graciously allowed us to allow tonight. She's going to share some of her shots and some of the things that she's done over the past few weeks, and also leading up to the Olympics and also during the Olympics. So she's going to share right now. So I'm going to add the stream. All right. So, yep.
Yeah, so the first day was archery.
Let me
Shows.
remove this. Sorry. Okay. I'll remove all the tickers so at least get a better view of all the things.
Yeah, can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah, so the first day was archery. So I try to. So majority of because coming like what you say just now, I was a former figure skater. So for me, interesting enough, figure skating is what I'm fluent in, is what I have wealth of knowledge in. But when it comes to summer sports, it's a bit of a challenge over the years. So for me, I try my best as a photographer to study as much as I can, and then the rest is just so. I think that one of the key is get your fundamental rights, get your basic right, and the rest is just let chaos and magic floats itself. Yeah. So,
This is a nice shot. I mean, it's so candid. She's just looking back.
yeah, she's looking at her coach. So one thing I also realized that throughout this whole pandemic, we would say it's called a lonely Olympic, a pandemic Olympic. It's just us media with the officials, with the volunteers, coach, and athlete themselves. So sometimes I like to include like a media personnel here just to get a feel of it as well. So I think one of the I think people I'm very grateful for is like local magazine commission me editorially. So I think that's a huge support system there that allows me to do the work. So I think this is what they did. Like,
and that's nice picture of Shakira, right? So
I do think that some of the media in Malaysia or editorial house in Malaysia really do the athlete justice, to our national athlete justice. So this was a very well composed article. So,
okay, that's nice.
So
that's
I think
Mani.
then Mani and Pandalita. So the whole, so I would say the first event I covered was archery, and then that very day itself, it's the opening ceremony. So yeah, so which is nice as well, opening ceremony, and this is the opening ceremony.
Yeah, I'm actually going to share with you some Facebook comments right now from Razif. He says, "Go Annice, go. Watching your Insta story daily made my day during the Olympics." Roshan, same here. Daily, I watch your Insta story. All right, so I think people have been really encouraged by what you've been doing. Right? I've been following your Insta story also every time, especially that massive fall during the track cycling. I think that was a big thing also. So
Yeah, a massive fall would be this. So for me, it's like I knew that the fall. I think as a photographer, you have to be well composed at that time. You can like suddenly like it be so emotionally invest to it. So I think luckily I found out that problem with me, that in fact the fact that I was so emotionally attached to it when I was photographing Saw and Aaron's match. So I do feel like I missed some shot, but for I think after that, I think Azizu and Shah's tournament was towards the end, so I kind of prepared myself what to do as well. So this is a compilation of 62 frames altogether.
wow.
Yeah.
Nice,
It's
but I mean, when you watch it live, you don't really you see when you're live at certain angles, you don't see it. But this really captures the seriousness of how it was. I mean, people are worried about like like what happened to Azizo last time, splinter through his thigh, right? That kind of thing. And then, but when you see like his whole skin suit was sort of ripped off and everything, there was a worry about the maybe a clavicle or broken rib and everything like that. So this was the big worry when they sent him to the hospital. But you see, when you see this, that's what we are talking about. People talk, okay, quick one right now. Nowadays, people talk about video, talk about TikTok, 60-second videos and everything. Do you think those will actually replace still photos like this?
I don't think so though. I'm still quite optimistic regarding about video has its target audience. Video has its own reach. Like nowadays have Instagram reels, but then also still photo itself, like this photo in particular that went pretty viral, that actually depict that what that moment is in time, when it feels like a moment that pauses that actually make us appreciate it. Because like for videos, I mean, I do love videos as well. It's just really good at engaging right now. So I think for us as we go, we need to adapt as well to how the cultural of internet universe is. So I think in particular, this still image, it was, for me, I think as a photographer, it's not just any man. It's actually Coach Chong Han. He's the coaching
Yes.
director.
Chong Han, yeah, we are familiar with Chong Han, so okay.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be any other random dude, random man to look up.
No, but I'd like to share something. This shot, I mean, I didn't really notice the significance until now. You see the China flag on the left and then the Malaysian flag on the right. But what's the flag in the middle? It's the Taiwanese national flag. It's not
Yeah.
even the national flag, right? A lot
Yeah.
of people don't understand that Taiwan's not allowed to show their national flag, right? At the Olympics, they have to show their Olympic Committee logo emblem, right? And the irony of it was that China is right next to it, and the history between these two countries in the Olympics and everything has not been very rosy, right?
Yeah.
And until today, it's still one of the most hotly debated issue about why is Taiwan or Chinese Taipei still not allowed. So there are a lot of things where there was an international legal suit and everything like that. Yeah. But I love this photo so much because of as an Olympic scholar and everything, this was very impactful that Chong Han is looking out at it also as a coach.
Yes.
Any more to share? Yeah.
And then speaking of flag, right, like you mentioned China and Taiwan, this is actually my favorite photo. So this is actually one of the Japanese officer. So I find that it's so interesting that while they are all the media was on the other side, on the right end, to actually waiting for the bronze, silver, and gold medalists. So when I was walking, I was rushing as well. But after that, I found out like, there's a group of Marines actually they were handling all three flags with care. So I took this shot because at that point, I remember that, back in Sejarah, when you study that how British colonizes Malaysia and how the Japan era. So so I realized that, at that time I heard it's like stories you heard from your grandparents, your grandmother, that they used to cut their hair, dress like a boy during the Japanese colonizing era. But now, years later, how they handle a Jalo Gemilang with such care, that's the story behind this shot.
Yeah, I mean, that was a different Japan now. And I mean, I remember how, I also saw this, how you see how with reverence they hold our Jalo Gemilang, how much care they put it when they raise the thing also. I think that's also very poignant. You see, that's the thing. Sometimes we are so concerned with the content of a picture or a shot that we don't realize the contextual significance of why they do or why people do this type of thing. And a lot of people don't know that during the Olympic, the Tokyo 2020, the Japanese Self-Defense Force was actually the people who volunteered to do to handle the flag ceremony and everything, not just any random games official. The Japanese Self-Defense Force actually volunteered to do the handling of the flag raising ceremony. And this is very poignant also, I think. See, that's the thing that I've always believed that these shots, I'm not a big TikTok person, Instagram reels, whatever. Give me a still photo that shows an athlete or a coach. I mean, people tend to catch the gold medalist, the silver medalist, but they don't catch that brief moment that after the competition, the gold medalist goes up to the silver medalist and just pats him on the shoulder, sits down with him while he's crying, and then accompanies him. It's photographers like you and all around your colleagues all around the world that capture this type of thing, that immortalizes these games, right? And this is great. I mean, I like this so much. Thanks for sharing, Annice.
Yeah, I think you're pretty spot on that, Nick. So another thing in the Olympic is because it's very interesting. Usually, I think whoever the invited guests or invited IOA or IOC officials, or even any of the NSA officials would hung the medals around the athletes. But this time, because of COVID, so they kind of hung it over, and they wear it over themselves, if you realize. So this was quite a nice moment that Saul was helping Aaron. Then after that, Aaron was helping Saul.
Helping Saul, yeah, we saw that one.
Yeah, and just so happened the medals was placed beautifully, and you can see everything. Like in particularly this photo, you will know that all are these empty seats behind, and also you need to capture the Tokyo sign.
Yeah, it shows like you said, the Lonely Olympics is really showing that this is going to be a once in a lifetime Olympic experience that these people had to celebrate their victory to an empty stadium.
Yeah,
Right?
like
Never in the history of the Olympic Games, in any Olympiad, has this ever happened. Right? So you were there to capture it, and that's fantastic. And this is immortalized forever. A lesson to us in terms of the history of it. Oh, that's a video, I think.
this video is actually one thing is not just that, even though you see what you, so what I want to try to show this post is a reporter is actually looking over an empty stadium and where the athletes are competing, so there's three courts right there, but
Mm.
so I spent quite a good amount of time because our badminton we basically have a full-fledged team from Malaysia. So during that, it's also one of the things I found out, the little moments, which is unity of your country or with other country. So this is actually RTM. His name is Sharif. So he actually cooked for us.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
nice.
he cooked for us. So it was quite nice that behind is actually the booth. So I was like, I was trying to buy something from, I think, the stadium venue, stadium food, and he was like, "Oh, Amoy, like tonight Tamal Bali stadium food. Saya masak." I was like, "You masak? Masak dari mana?" Then he said he brought a travel cooker in his hotel. I'm like, then there's the curry. Oh, this was like one of the best thing I will cherish forever. So I remember the sport minister was there, the official was there, and all of us just makan, like even if it's just 2 bites or 3 bites, it's enough to just have
Memories forever. You can always keep in your in
yeah,
something you can take back every time.
yeah, all of us like
Yeah,
have
that
a
looks so nice.
so we're very happy. Yeah, so these are the moments that you really couldn't, it's like really money cannot buy those kind of moments. So yeah.
Yes. I'm so glad you got to go. I mean, I'm happy that a youth like you were able to go there and experience the games. And not only that, see the games from a perspective that most people don't get to see. The behind the scenes, the things that make it tick. People take for granted all these things so much. And I've, as an NOA director, I always felt that it's my mission to ensure that people realize that the games is not just about the athlete, it's a philosophy, it's a journey and everything, and everyone has a right to experience the Olympic journey. And I'm so glad you went through that whole process. So a quick one, I remember when we first met, when I
Mhm.
invited you for the National Olympic Academy session, you said that you weren't familiar with the Olympics in terms of the philosophy and the thing, right?
Yeah.
So after seeing after attending the National Olympic Academy session, all right, I know some of your batchmates are actually watching you right now on Facebook, right? They actually messaged, right? They're going, go, Annice, go, right? Um, After attending the games, does it give you a deeper understanding of the magnitude of the what the Olympic means, not just as a sporting event, but also on an existential level? Do you feel anything like that?
I think I think I feel in terms of beyond that, in terms of in every level, whether if it's like unity in terms of I think country to country, and I felt like it's a big global reunion as well there. So you don't feel like you're alone. So basically, when we are all there, we are all conformed in this Olympic bubble. So I think one thing we have to let everyone know that it's not it's no longer an Olympic Tokyo 2020 in some sort. We felt like we're in an Olympic bubble that just so happens situated in Tokyo,
In
Japan.
Tokyo?
Yes. So we're all in this together and just we are just doing our very best with the circumstances. Mm.
See, that's what we always wanted here at the National Olympic Academy, that every common person, irregardless whether you are elite performance athlete, whether you are a national athlete or whatever, or coach or official that's been overseas, anything, anyone can experience it. Right? I mean, the games itself, you can argue with all of us here at the IOA, the NOA, and everything about how these games shouldn't have taken place. It was so irresponsible and everything. But on a moral, not just on a moral, on an existential, on a very inspiring, idealistic, you want to look at optimistic level also, it had to go on, because it a lot of people felt that the games lifted what was currently a very dire, bad situation back in Malaysia and all around the world. COVID, deaths, lockdown, right, loss of business, loss of lives and everything. And it's a bright spark. So I agree with the people who say that, look, the game shouldn't have happened, it's economically very bad, Japan shouldn't take the risk, everything. I personally feel that I agree with you on that, but at the same time, sports unite us. The Olympics united us, and I think that's very important. That's a nice shot of Farah.
Yeah. So, yeah, she was. I think it was very important. It was really incredible. So when I photographed this, like yes, even though it's for work, but my heart also tell me there and then and that day, and she got quite emotional. So because it kind of understood that she wasn't able to qualify to the next round, but you know that being there is just more than enough. So I think as a photographer, I decided that night to give her 3 photos that I personally think is best, and I think that it's just my gift to her regardless. So just for her personal use. So when I gave it to her, it was really nice that she replied me that, oh, Annice, you actually captured my dream. So it was very interesting to know from the athlete point of view that from you guys that it's not just a photo I capture, but it's more of years of hard work, or maybe a photo that they always painted or imagined themselves at the Olympics. But now it's like really documented and send it to them. Yeah.
You basically turn the image they have in their mind into something tangible they can keep forever. That's why you can't. I don't like all those Snapchat whatever where things disappear after 60 seconds or 24 hours kind of thing. This Farah will remember this. She'll frame this up. She will talk to her kids one day and her grandkids one day and whatever, and her grandkids will talk about the grandma who went to the Olympics. These are things that you can bring out. I mean, I'm not trying to imply Farah. Sorry, you're implying that you're old or anything. But these are memories that is immortalized forever. You went to the games, you tried your best, you fought for your country, and you came back, and it's there. And only photographers like you capture that, right? And you can look at the genuine look on her face. She's just looking at it, and she's just, yes, it's heartbreaking. We don't know what the top. You think about it. She's smiling. She's doing the heart sign, but what's going through her mind? It must be devastating and disappointing for her. But she has to present a proud face, and people don't realize that about athletes. They see the triumphs, they see everything. But why do we always pick on these type of things? Because these are also humans, elite humans. They train to a high level. They train for 5 years to get to where they are, right? And sometimes we just have to step back and say that, look, they're only human, right? And you have to admit that all our athletes, everyone has been through a tough time for the past year because of COVID, right? And because of the lockdown.
I couldn't agree more. I would say that this Olympic is by far the most physical and mentally challenging. Not even for athletes, I think for myself as well, because I think ultimately we have to be incredibly disciplined in the works we did. So I think to a point that it was so demanding in terms of shortage of time. I think a fun fact is I actually sleep with my next day of attire so that I could at least salvage or save 15 minutes of the time.
Wow, that's a dedicated work ethic that you have there. That's interesting. So you slept in the same clothing that you want to wear for the next day to save 15 minutes.
So that I can actually sleep 15 minutes more.
Okay, sleep 15 minutes more. Okay, all right. So
I can actually sleep 15 minutes more because the timing
how
is.
How tiring was it? I think you wanted to show that. Okay.
Sorry. Oh, how tiring was it? Sorry, what was your question earlier? I think
no. How tiring was this? I mean, you said that it was like you want to get 15 minutes sleep. We take for granted that every day, but how exhausting was it?
Oh, I would like to share you in that. Like, in terms of like, I started my day at 5:30 a.m. So this is how it started. So after that, you wake up, then you get ready because you have to do this for the next 14 days. You wear your credentials, you wear your vest. Then after that, 6:30 I'm out. 6:30 I'm out because I need to catch the bus. From my hotel, we have to know that from our hotel we will be shuffled all the way to the MTM. I think it's called a media transportation mall. So it's where the main area where all the buses are. So that took about 1 hour because in between from your place to the media transportation mall, it has 3 hotels. So you're not the only hotel. You're not like your lodging area is not the only place that they will pick you up. So they will have 3 stops. So that took 1 hour there. Then after that, you have to get down from that bus to change to the bus that actually go to actually bring you to your designated competition venue. So overall, it took about 2 hours. So we feel like one day I kind of spent like 3.5 hours to 4 hours on the bus, really. Yeah.
Okay. So what's next after that? That's like 6:22 a.m. I'm looking at the time right now.
Yeah, 6:22, doing all my checklist. No time to eat breakfast, so bring your granola bar, sandwiches. So what I did was every night when I come back, by the time I come back, it was 1 a.m., I will go to the convenience store to actually stock up for the next day. So I will bring like uh onigiri because it has carbs. So yeah, I brought something like as long as there's carbs and sugar. So 7:30, I will actually during that 1 hour, right, I will actually check emails, update my clients, catch up with family. So every hour, every minute is crucial. So that's where they drop us at the media transportation mall. And then we'll go to competition venue, try to be there 1 hour earlier. So let's say if your event starts at 9, just wake up at 5 plus to I think by 7 you need to get out of the hotel. So yeah, 9 o'clock, get ready everything. So I think my first competition starts at 10. So these are the gear lists. So I have to carry this amount of gear every day.
Wow. How many kilograms, you think?
17 to 21 kgs.
Wow.
So yeah, this is me on site working. Then this is just a general brief a day in a life. So after that, in between competition, you need to send your files to client or send to the national bodies or even to OCM. So after that, I have a grab a bike. Yeah, and it's only 1:30 p.m. So during lunchtime, you have a little bit breather. Then you get back to your media transportation mall again. I think this was the day of the opening ceremony, so it was quite demanding. So opening ceremony, I have to study the floor plan. So I think being a former architecture student gives me a advantage as well to know that okay, where is the venue and stuff. And I think by 4:30 you need to reach there and chope the place already, or 5:30 if you can, because the last bus was 6 o'clock. So I think by 6:15 I prep everything. I had my dinner there while waiting. Everything lay out, like kind of orchestrate your battle plan, how you want to save photo later, because you have to know that the transmission time is like whatever your Wi-Fi is going to be corrupt that night, because there's just so many people even without
Mm.
spectators. So I cannot imagine if with spectator, how would the internet be as well?
I like to add that a lot of people don't realize the amount of logistics that goes into planning a
Yeah.
games as massive as this. So you looked at just now, there was photo positions for photographers
Yep.
for the opening ceremony. That's why people don't see that. People see the games and everything, but the amount of work, volunteers, the amount of things that have gone into the planning and everything. I hope one day we get to talk to our
Mm.
NOA graduate also, Linio, right? And
Mm.
ask her. She's working on the accreditation side on the back end and everything, and share what are the things that go into the running of these games, right? So wow.
Yeah, I think one of the craziest one was the really craziest one was that night. So we actually have two photographers representing Malaysia on that night, because just so you know, three of the other photographers was still in quarantine.
Oh,
So
they
yeah,
arrived late, I guess. Yeah.
so they arrive like unfortunate. I think it's nobody's like fault. It's just
Yeah.
unfortunate that based on logistics. So the entire Malaysia photo distribution is just two of us. So we have one of us up there, and I was here. So if you're up here, it does somehow here it says that by 7 p.m. no moves. I think whatever words land, you could not move at all. So we already have one lock up here. So he will be in charge of taking the fireworks, the overall view. So then there's me at photo position B. But little did you know, I think the worst nightmare was the first country who come out is Greece. And
Yes.
we're told that they are coming out from here. We were told by different volunteers, different officials have different answer that night, and I don't know why. So some say, oh, they will come out from here. Don't worry, you're good here, so you can shoot here. Some say that, oh, they'll be coming out from 5G, so it's fine. And little did you know, they're all coming out from 3G from here. And imagine you're standing here. It's the worst nightmare because the back they're facing the back at you.
Yeah.
So what we do is, the moment the first country came out, all of us just startled. Then me and a few photographers, we just ran up all the way here, kind of negotiate with the volunteer, because I understand the volunteer just wouldn't let us go. So we just negotiate. Then we ran all the way half until G here to shoot the athletes. So yeah, so it could actually prepare you that no matter how much you prepare, you will still have problems at the end. Mm.
Nice. I mean, that's the thing. Thank you so much for sharing. Anything else? I mean, the day. Wow, that's only 3:45.
Yeah,
That's
5 p.m.
five
So this
5
was,
p.m.
I think this was around, I think this issue came out around 8 plus. So luckily Malaysia is in, I think, number 177 countries. So
77, 77. Yes.
yeah, so it gives me a lot of I mean, I ran all the way, but I actually paused here for a very long time to just like see which country incoming. Then I left my Wi-Fi docket here. I was like, oh no, I have to shoot already, then run back here because I was panicked that time. So I left my Wi-Fi here. So yeah, so I think around 7:50, 8 o'clock, the competitions, the opening ceremony starts. So the fireworks and everything, it is quite spectacular. Then yeah, so by 10 something or 9 something, they finally came out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I think we should kind of, I mean, this shot will forever be in my heart because I will never know that this shot is actually an archival shot that perhaps will be in. It seems like a standard simple shot, but little do you know that this shot will be in OCM, like the
Yeah.
yearly
Yep.
marching shot, and as well as perhaps in textbook next time. But one thing I think as athletes or official next time, we need to brief our athletes, Nick. Yeah, Nick,
Yeah.
we need to brief
Okay.
our athletes
Athletes
in
out
terms
there
of,
who's listening in, please listen to Annice about
yeah,
this.
this is very important that we actually have to address that.
Yeah.
I understand you guys are soaking in your moments, so you want an Insta story, but just bear in mind that this is what we don't want, and this is what we don't want with the phones and the phones. But
Yeah.
I do appreciate the peace sign. I think it was Wendy, so I really
Yeah.
appreciate this peace sign. So yeah, so I think this is let's not call their name, but yeah, yeah, I would think that athletes, like, it is nice when you march in, you can do all
Yeah.
the Insta story document. We understand that you're human. At that point, you're just really excited, but just know that when you reach towards the end, there's a group of photographers waiting for you, and this is what you're having. Like, I think
Yeah.
she was twirling around to get the shot, and then there's a
Yeah.
phone. So I think one thing is we really want to see your faces. So yeah.
Yeah, but so good. So for all future, we might actually, okay. A good note to our colleagues at OCM. All right, please take note. Maybe a short little media briefing to the athletes. All right,
Yeah.
you are allowed to do your Insta reels, your Instagram, your TikToks, and whatever. But remember, towards the end there's going to be a photographer that will immortalize your face, and you wouldn't want to be the athlete that was playing around and spinning around, trying to get a good shot of everything, getting a good Wi-Fi or selfie or whatever. So no, but again, yeah, that's great to see. That's good advice, right, about that. So that's nice. Yeah, you see, now you look at it, you think about it, it's a guy there holding a phone. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but all in all, that we are just really happy. It is still, I would say, overall it is still a good photo, and we just, it's something that we cannot control, and we were just really happy that the athletes are happy, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
that's that. And also, I think 11 file your photo. That's why sometimes I was like constantly telling people that, I just do the respectful thing, credit your photographers, because we all are working our butts off from 5:30, and this is only 11 p.m. So it ended. So 12:50, I'm trying to take the shuttle bus, and then only arrived back due to high traffic. I'm only able to get on a bus at 12 o'clock. At 2 o'clock actually. So by the time
Ouch.
I reached back to my place, I think I was just, I at this point dead tired already. I haven't had my dinner at that time, and it was
Mm,
2:55. So at that point also, even though it's just a few first day, I felt my body is aching as well. So I decided to just soak myself in hot water and then sleep at 4 o'clock, and then 7 o'clock start over. Yeah.
wow. Okay. All
So
right.
it's
So
so it's
thank you so much for sharing the ordeal, the
yeah.
experience, I think.
So it's overall 3 to 4 hours daily. And I think the last 2 days, the Azizu match, I slept 2.5 hours only because I think it was just nerves as well. to try to immortalize the moment. Yeah.
We have a comment right now here from Chiang Hui. She says that Annice, you're really inspiring. You're really inspiring me right now. How do I become a successful photographer like you, Annice? Right. So what do you have advice for Chiang Hui?
I think Chen Hui, thank you so much for the question as well. I think how to become successful, just know that for the journey, in terms of journey, you have to just basically work hard lah. It's not just a textbook answer, but it's really, there is no shortcut. You have to work hard, and while through the journey, recognition may be nice, especially like in times like this, but it should never be a goal lah. I think one thing, how you kind of like define as successful is entirely up to you lor. For me, I would always say that just keep the hard work and believe in the athletes or believe in the people you're photographing. I think first and foremost, believe in your own self in terms of your work, as well as believe in the subject you're photographing.
Yeah, since we're on the subject of commenting, we actually have Razif here. He actually has 3 questions, so I hope you don't mind answering Razif. He has 3 questions. He says, he knows you're architecture students, right? Right. So that's the thing, right? So transitioning from an architecture student, right? How did you? What are your advice, especially to youth, to embark on their journey as a media practitioner, especially as a sports photographer?
Can you come out that question again?
Transitioning from an architecture student to a sports photographer, what are your advice, especially to the youth, to embark on their journey?
I would say that always come up with plan A, plan B, and plan C as well for me, in terms of like just be adaptable. Like sometimes you may not able to be a sports photographer. Like for me, I would say that I would still constantly looking for funds to actually pursue my passion. So I think it's just always have time while you're hustling. Always also have carve out a certain portion of your time and week to have passion projects as well, and see where that leads you to.
Yeah. Okay. Second question. I'm pretty sure networking is very useful in every industry. Talking specifically in Malaysian setting, how networking helps you in your journey as a sports photographer?
I think how networking helped me as a journey in terms of being nice to people. I think overall, in general, being nice and intentional helps you in the long run. You may not get the answer or the result you want immediately, but I would say that in terms of networking, it does help because it allows you to ask the right question, join the right. I think like what you say, I learned incredibly a lot when I first know you, when I think when Hashimi kind of like linked us up together, that I didn't know anything about the NOA, but after going through the workshops, it could somehow, something just overall, that things you learn won't be in vain, and you will somehow find it useful in the long run. Yeah.
Okay. Last question. Personally, why do you think it's hard to see women being involved in sports photography?
I would say that I think based on the years before, it is very physically challenging, and I think this time more than ever is very mentally challenging as well. So I think for me, I never think that we are lucky enough to be in the region, because I have heard other region that they oppose women to actually shoot in the stadium, and some of the women actually climb all the way until the rooftop with their tele lenses to shoot down on a football field, or even don't allow women to even watch a football match. But I would say where we are from, general, I don't think there's like an obstacle to it. It's accessible, just that I don't see anyone being a trailblazer up to it. And if you don't see anyone being an example, so why not you just tell yourself, you just give yourself a trial, perhaps you can be the example as well.
Awesome. So last question, this is an interesting one. Maybe answering this question from Desmond here, maybe it will give you a sense of how does a journalist or photographer get accreditation to go to the games, right? Hi Annice, I would like to ask if there's how a journalist photographer in the upcoming, he says SEA Games 2022, it's actually not the SEA Games, it's actually the Beijing Winter Olympics, right, in China, right? Will there be any interview in order to get a photographer accreditation? Now, Desmond, we can't help you with that because all this is run under the Olympic Council of Malaysia, but maybe Annice can share about the process of how the process of getting this accreditation. This credential, sorry.
I think in terms of process of getting it, there's a different story in every photographer. So I think generally every photographer, like let's say if you're working for Associated Press, Reuters, or anyone, so it's all everyone has a different story to actually tell you. So what I would say to Desmond is actually, I think the best thing is, everybody wanted to focus on a big thing. So I think sometimes we have to like fly, come back from the clouds and actually eat the humble pie to actually focus on what's going on in our community first. To actually focus on photographing our own community, and then in time over the years when you build the portfolio, then actually only when you find that there's a reason to actually champion the subject you are photographing, then only it's time that you actually apply. So I would say
Well, I
that.
think, yeah, there's a follow-up question from Chang Hui. I'm a fresh grade and I wanted to become a sports photographer. I think inspiring people, that's what you wanted to do tonight. But I'm not sure where to start. Do you have any advice how to start? That's good. Let's answer these questions. I think it's important to push.
I think it's a great question that I actually answered Desmond earlier. So I think for Chen Hui, how do you start? It's basically right outside your door. Right outside your door in terms of your house. Like if there's a frisbee tournament going on, if there's a children soccer going on, I think that is also considered sports, because I think one thing that everybody overlook now is, they have to wait until SEA Games. They have to wait until the Southeast Asia, the Asian Games or the Olympics to actually put their foot in. So I think everybody overlook is that actually where you should start off is the park right outside your house, or your community field is where you really photograph and learn from there, and learn how the community works, and that's where you build your portfolio from there, I would say.
Maybe I can add something to Chang Hui here. So I'd like to share with you, I mean, someone from the sports community, other than what Annie said. What Annie said was very true. You don't have to wait till the games or SEA Games or the Para Games or anything. There are a lot of national sports associations or sporting events in Malaysia that always is always there. I mean, now COVID, I'm sorry we can't do it, but once all these open up again, go to these places. You can even approach a national sports association. Look, I'm willing to work for free for you if I can get credentials to come and shoot your event. I'll give you full credit for your photos or whatever. Please put your watermark and everything. I'd like to be credited. Protect yourself and everything also, right? But at the same time, don't think that you have to always look at credentials. Practice going to our local meets, right? There are plenty of new grassroots sports that need publicity. They need pictures because people don't know about these sports, right? I'd like to give a shout out to Roshan. Roshan's from Malaysia underwater hockey. They are a fledgling new sport. They want to get out there, but they don't have enough publicity or photographers interested to shoot underwater, right? So you see that these are people that you can tap on to practice and break into the market. I think that's important also, right? So thank you again. That's the last. I see Sebastian say, as practice, just go to the park, shoot animals running or birds flying. That's thanks, Sebastian.
That actually practice your instincts as well. So yeah, there's no right way or what to interview and stuff. So I think one of the thing is really we have to look back to, instead of aiming straight away, aim for the Olympic, which is not wrong as well. I mean, that is incredible ambitions of, like, I think basically all of us, we are very ambitious and very enthusiastic about it. But like what you say, like Roshan, I mean, chances are those sports association, what they lack of is photo as well. And then it is up to us as well. If you're interested in photography, you have to gear. Why not just champion and believe your own very national club or your sports body first, and then work with them. Yes, at one point, in order to build your portfolio, you have to somehow have a give and take. It's not in life that you always just take. So you have to practice and give and take, and actually talk to the sports association. Like if they want to buy off photo, if they don't have budget, maybe you can work on a memorial of understanding, see how this works. So at the end, it's like a win-win situation for everyone.
Yeah, Razif has a final message here. No more questions for me, but I just want to say thank you so much for being such a great role model for us. And just to let you know, a lot of people are inspired by your journey. All of us are behind you, rooting for your success. Personally, all the best for your future endeavors. Thank you for doing what you love and inspiring us to follow our dreams too.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for the comments tonight. I think we won't be addressing any more comments from the Facebook because we are already past the 1 hour mark already.
Okay.
I like to sort of close this off. I like to ask: is there anything you'd like to share to aspiring sports photographers, or even our athletes for that matter? Some advice or whatever. Anything you'd like to share?
I think one of the things I learned during the Tokyo Olympics, I think basically generally, because I think without the spectators, our job now is to actually put it on social media and get it. And I think in the universe of social media now, there's a lot of like still contents and stuff. So I think whatever you guys do in life, I think the courtesy thing I would like to address is to credit your photographers. Like, it's not needed. I mean, I wouldn't say that there's not a rule book or saying that it's a must, but it's a respectful thing to do. And I think I'm sure the photographers or the journalists or whoever, I think not just in terms of photos, like let's say if you go to that hair salon and they did a great job at your hair, so why not just credit the why not just credit the hairstylist? So in future, this kind of like online credit currency, it may seem nothing, but people will actually like, hey, that's actually a great hair. So they don't have to ask you. They actually like, oh, this is where I can get my hair done. So it's more like preferring giving a lot of like referral codes, recommendation to people as well. So I think this is something that we should appreciate and practice in terms of giving credits when the credits is due. So in terms of like I'm saying that don't crop the watermarks, because you just have to know that and also one thing you should know that credits don't pay the bills. So this is just generally something brutal honesty. So in some way when you first started out, yes, you do need credits to help you to somehow go, but I think we as humans have to be sensible as well, that if you like that photo, just find a way to support. If you can support now, maybe support others, or even send something to them to make their day, to continue to empower them, and to continue to allow creators to create.
Thank you so much. So for those aspiring people out there, what do you want to tell them? Right? Who wants like Cheng Hui, people like Cheng Hui, Desmond, they are just starting their foray into sports photography. What do you want? What advice do you have for them?
I think what advice I will have for them, that my I would say that my dad always taught me this. He said that when it comes to anything or works, you have to get your fundamentals right. I think this one also helped very well in sports, because chances are when you work with people or when you network, there are a lot of talented people out there and skillful, but also know that you just have to get your fundamentals right. It's as simple as ABC, my father say. So ABC, as simple as ABC, meaning attitude, behavior, and character. If you don't have these three, then it's seriously there's no point, I would say. So chances are people are looking at actually these three things: attitude, behavior, and character, because skills can always be trained, and skill set can always be developed over time.
Well said. You have a very wise father, right? So,
Mm.
so to Uncle Teo, thank you very much for teaching all the fundamentals to your daughter. I think we have some bright future for us. So, I like on behalf of the National Olympic Academy, the Olympic Council of Malaysia, also, right, our president and all the staff working, and including all the athletes out there. Thank you so much for giving us immortalizing the lonely games, right? Preserving the memories of the lonely games. But again, right, thank you so much, Annice, for sharing this time with me. And I'm just going to say a couple of words. So thank you. I'll give a big hand to Annice, and then we'll come back. So all right, everyone, thank you so much for joining us tonight. So please visit us here at the National Olympic Academy at Facebook. Thank you. Give us a like, share our things. Right, we always try to post some small little nuggets of interesting Olympism or Olympic movement or Olympic philosophy stories. We thank you so much for having Annice here tonight. Also, big shout out to Michelle, our COO for the Olympic Council of Malaysia. She was the one responsible for helping Annice get her accreditation to the Tokyo 2020. I believe she's very grateful and everything. But we always forget that there are people working behind the scenes. There are people always there making this memorable for us. We see the opening, we see the closing, we see so many things, but people tend to forget the people that immortalizes all these things for us, the photojournalists, the photographers, the videographers, the people who are covering the games, even the guy that just ushers the athletes into the stadium, right? So tonight, when we go to bed tonight, or wherever you are right now, when you wake up in the morning, and for those people who are sports fans or people fans of the Olympic Games, say a small little prayer of gratitude for the people in the back who constantly always worry about how will people be able to remember the games? How do I immortalize the games? How do I remember these things? And these are the people that give you the games. These are the people that are always there to allow you to be who you are and what they want to be, and also be able to get these moments of inspiration. So, like our mandate, the National Olympic Academy, we are here to spread Olympic education, to talk about the journey of what Olympism is all about. Stay tuned, we got a lot more things coming up soon. All right, we have the National Olympic Academy session that's coming out towards either the end of the year or in Q1 next year, depending on COVID here in Malaysia. We hope to see you, especially sports people. We hope to have more programs in the future. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. So good night, stay safe, all right, and thank you.